When did making plans get this complicated? It's time to streamline with WhatsApp, the secure messaging app that brings the whole group together. Use polls to settle dinner plans. Send event invites and pin messages so no one forgets Mom's 60th. And never miss a meme or milestone. All protected with end-to-end encryption. It's time for WhatsApp. Message privately with everyone. Learn more at whatsapp.com.
This episode is brought to you by State Farm. Listening to this podcast? Smart move. Being financially savvy? Smart move. Another smart move? Having State Farm help you create a competitive price when you choose to bundle home and auto. Bundling, just another way to save with the personal price plan. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Prices are based on rating plans that vary by state. Coverage options are selected by the customer. Availability, amount of discounts and savings, and eligibility vary by state.
I'm Scott Hansen, host of NFL Red Zone. Lowe's knows Sundays are for football. That's why we're here to help you get your next DIY project done, even when the clock isn't on your side. Whether that's a new Filtrete filter or Bosch and Cobalt power tools, Lowe's has everything you need to feel like the MVP of DIY. So get it done and earn your Sunday. Shop now, in-store and online. Lowe's, official partner of the NFL.
You're listening to 1865, the Nottingham Forest podcast with Stephen Toplis.
Hello and welcome to the 1865 match report as we look back on Forest's 2-0 defeat at Bournemouth. It's not a surprise that Bournemouth beat Forest yet again at home, and Forest, I think it's 11 years now, waiting for a victory on the south coast. We're going to have to wait at least another year. Bournemouth running out 2-0 winners in a game which they were far superior in. Forest in particular in the first half didn't look up to it. Bournemouth went into a 2-goal lead, and despite a rally in the second half from Sean Dyche's men after a number of changes, Forest couldn't find a way back into the game and it finished 2-0. I'm Stephen Toplis and I'm joined by the Maradona of the Midlands. Before we pick up the game, we're going to go over to George Edwards for his reaction from the Vitality Stadium.
So just walking back to the train station after yet another Bournemouth defeat, one that I think, as much as we all felt positive after the Porto game, we all saw coming because of Forest's record there and because of how well Bournemouth are. I think they're second now after they're beating us. And from second one, I think you could see it. Dyche picked the team that we all wanted to see, Savona coming in. And yeah, Bournemouth were just a step ahead for the whole game. They pressed Forest so eagerly, and it meant Forest had to play one-touch football that, apart from Louise and Anderson, nobody in a red shirt or, white shirt can play. And we just looked so uncomfortable. It looked like off the ball, we were so out of breath trying to keep up with them that when we got the ball, we didn't have the energy to play through their press. And as much as the first goal, I think maybe it's not a corner, but Matt Sells has to do far better. Second goal, it felt like that Clivert goal from last year when he just broke free and had nobody pressing him down. So whether people have grievances with the referee or not, Forest deserved to be 2-0 down, if not more, at half-time. I thought Yates and Owen, you had to come on, which a lot of the guys in the group chat said, and Dyche did, to be fair to him. But what I didn't agree with was the fact that he threw them on and then said just lump it to Taiwo, which, yes, there's more physicality there, and I thought we weren't going to beat them by playing football, but it felt like once we got the ball, the only way we thought we were going to score was to lump it long to Taiwo. And then we didn't put enough players around him that the scraps that he did win went nowhere. So all in all, it was a pretty hopeless performance. We were just beaten by a better side and a side in Bournemouth that have been under Irena now for, the fourth season. I think you could just tell they were so much more well-drilled, well-organised and more comfortable than Forest. And obviously, it's a bit different. And Porto, we're going back to the way we know it, under the lights at the City Ground. And Porto played right into our hands, really. Bournemouth certainly didn't do that. They didn't make us comfortable from moment one. And in the end, I think 2-0's probably fattering Forest, if anything, because I didn't feel we'd score from anywhere. And we're probably lucky that the bodies were committed forward in the second half. We didn't concede. So, yeah, it's back to the drawing board. I think we've got to try and get, 4 points at least from Leeds and Man United, the next two in the league, because it's Liverpool after that, and try and get a win from Graz. But yeah, that's my thoughts.
Thanks, George. And just picking up off the back of that, Maradona, what were your thoughts on the game and Forest's performance today?
Well, Bournemouth were everything we weren't. I just the sort of words that were coming to mind looking at Forest were slow, ponderous, ineffective, lethargic, and Bournemouth were the exact opposite. They were quick, they were energetic, they were intense, they were aggressive, they were great crisp passing. They looked dangerous every time they went forward. It was one of those classic games where it looks like the opposition have more players than Forest do. It happens quite regularly. It's when it's more often than not. It always looks like they snuck an extra 2 or 3 men on the pitch. Another one of those performances. I thought we'd weathered the initial early storm. To be honest with you, I thought they were always going to have a fast start. And I thought we did quite well to get through that first 10, 15 minutes. The most dangerous part was, I think, a shot from Semenyo. But apart from that, it was we started to sort of take a bit of control in terms of not letting them just have shot after shot at us. We're getting a bit further up the pitch, but never really threatened a goal in the entire match. And conceded 2 pretty poor ones, as everybody knows.
Yeah, it was a pretty disappointing and depressing day all round for Forest. We'll go back to the start and look at the team news then. So Sean Dyche made one change from the team that beat Porto. It was enforced. Alexander Zinchenko limped off in that game. He was replaced on the night by Nicola Savona, and he came into the starting lineup today. So he had a similar formation, 4-2-3-1 to Thursday night. Matt Sells in goal. Back four of Savona, Nikola Milenkovic, Murillo and Nico Williams. In front of them, Douglas Luiz and Elliot Anderson, with Dan Ndoye, Morgan Gibbs-White and Callum Hudson-Odoi as a front three. And at the tip of that, we had Igor Jesus. So I don't think there were any complaints with that starting 11, and no reason really for Sean Dyche to change a winning team too much. What do you think?
Yeah, I think especially after the criticism that Ange had at trying to rotate the squad earlier on in the season, I think Dyche is always going to try and stick to a team. And it was a winning team, so you've got to say, why wouldn't you stick to that winning team? He's also spoke about the fitness of the players after that Porto game. So it's probably a good idea to play them again and just build that fitness up. But the other side of the coin is fatigue. It's a well-known effect after European matches, especially the Thursday match for some reason. That really messes with players' heads much more than playing Wednesday than on Saturday. Playing on the Thursday just seems to disrupt their rhythm, and it's a well-known phenomena that everybody's sort of a bit tired and lethargic in the match afterwards. So I mean, it's a no-win situation really. Either way, Ange got criticised earlier on in the season for changing it too much, trying to freshen it up, and then I'm sure there'll be some people criticising Sean Dyche today for maybe not freshening it up, maybe changing 1 or 2 players. But I don't know. There's no right or wrong answer. You just got to try and build some momentum at this stage, and I think probably sticking with the same 11 or as close as you could was probably the right thing to do.
Bournemouth came flying out of the traps and really set the tone for the game. They had an opportunity in the first minute through Marcus Tavernier down the right-hand side, and he cut in, had a shot low, which Sells had to palm away. And a few minutes later, Semenyo on the opposite flank, he had an opportunity, shot at goal, and Sells got the block in. And it did feel like that storm at the start that Forest needed to weather. They seemed to do it well, didn't they? Even though they couldn't get much of a foothold in the game, it felt like they were repelling Bournemouth and doing enough.
Yeah, from the defensive point of view, the back four looked fairly solid. I've been starting to become impressed with Savona as the games go on. He had a very shaky start at Arsenal, but that was a really big ask for a young player coming over to the Premier League for the first time and starting, who are now, we can maybe call the champions elect already for his first debut match. He had a shaky start there, but he's starting to look more and more sort of comfortable with every game that goes on. Defensively, definitely, and even against Porto, it was his forward run that got us that second penalty. So he handled Semenyo well after that initial first shot. I don't think Semenyo bothered us at all, and despite all the hype pre-match about him being sort of the best winger in the country now. So it was more the midfield. It was players that you'd expect to do better in terms of Gibbs-White, Hudson-Odoi, Anderson, and Louise, who were playing very scrappily. Terrible first touches, not able to keep control. And that's where the Bournemouth aggression and intensity really paid off for them. They were able to sort of disrupt our composure and just harass us out the ball with their pressing, not giving us a moment, and constantly sort of haranguing our players in midfield and making them sort of really look ragged in that period. And it was disappointing because we've all seen Elliot Anderson, not only for us but for England. He looked like a world beater so far this season. So a brilliant, tough player. Great first touch, passing it on. Douglas Luiz, big lad, but they were just so like little flies buzzing around our players. I just couldn't let them settle at all. And it reminded me a bit of Brentford last night. We saw them against Liverpool. Arguably, Liverpool have the bigger name players, the better quality players, but they're completely outworked, outrun. The intensity of Brentford just not giving them a moment. And similarly today, it's just it's that work rate, and I think that's been missing from our play this season. It's that being able to outplay the other team by outworking them. That's the bare minimum. You can get the finer side of the game afterwards. First of all, you have to be prepared to work harder than them and do your jobs and do all the dirty work. I think that's where we've sort of fallen off a bit this season.
I will say on that as well that Bournemouth, much like Newcastle, seem to find a way of stretching the rules to their advantage. I think they are a more robust team than they're given credit for. Everybody talks about, they play this great football and they're this and they're that. They can be dirty as well, and they seem to be allowed to get away with it by referees. I think much like Newcastle.
I think at our best last season, we were doing the same thing as well, though. I think that's part of the point I'm making. For all the criticism that people like Ryan Yates used to get last season, as people say he's not got the ability of Sangare or Anderson or Louise, sometimes you need that sort of dark arts in there. You can't see the light if you haven't got the dark. And it improved when he came on at half time. We were a bit more dominant in that midfield. Not Bournemouth really were completely ineffective, but that might be because they didn't need to play anywhere close to work because they already have a 2-0 lead. But I think that's part of the game, though, Stephen. We can sort of criticise them for it, but that is part of the game, and we did that well last season. We were good at the little fouls and things like that. We were a nasty team to play against as well. We annoyed other fan bases and other clubs with that sort of thing as well. So I think we need to get back to that again. And I'm sure with Sean Dyche, he spoke very well in his post-match interview on Radio Nottingham. He was very honest. And he spotted it's great to hear him sort of agree with a lot of the things that fans are saying. You get some managers who sort of trying to play a bit of a smoke screen and say black was white, but he said it exactly what it was. He used a brilliant word, subservient. Forest was subservient to Bournemouth in that first half, and he's 100% correct. We were sort of rolled out the red carpet for them, really.
And in the opening 20-25 minutes, Forest didn't muster anything in terms of chances or anything really close to chances. And it was all Bournemouth. So when the first goal came, it shouldn't have come as a surprise. But I want to touch on this goal because it's tinged with controversy. First of all, Bournemouth win a corner. It comes from Marcus Tavernier in challenge with Nico Williams. The ball comes off Nico Williams as he makes the challenge. It then bounces off Tavernier and goes out. But it should have been a goal kick. It wasn't. It was given as a Bournemouth corner. And then from that corner, Tavernier whips the ball in right into the middle of the goal. Stells isn't anywhere near it. it goes in directly from the corner and Bournemouth are 1-0 up. And on first viewing, you think, what on earth is Matt Sells doing there? Why is he allowing a ball which is dead centre of his goal to go in above him from a corner? Why has he not dealt with it? But then you watch the replay, he's got Tyler Adams stood next to him. Tyler Adams shoves him as the ball's coming in, knocks him off balance, and he can't recover Matt Sells. Now, to me, that's a foul, and that goal shouldn't have stood. It also shouldn't have even been an opportunity because it should have been a Forest goal kick.
Yeah, I mean, in real time, I couldn't tell. I couldn't tell it was a corner or a goal kick. I just assumed it was a corner. Sean Dyche said afterwards that the linesman, the assistant referee, signalled for a goal kick, and the referee overruled him, which was news. I didn't pick up on that at all during the match. So if that's the case, that's ridiculous because the assistant had a much better view of it. And then the goal itself, it was, credit to Bournemouth. It was a wickedly delivered corner, a delivery into the box, a million times better than the corners we were producing when I was sort of going 10 times further than needed to go. And but I don't think shove's a bit harder word for it. I think it was a little push, but just even that, once you're in midair like that little push, does knock you off balance. It does knock you off your course. So I was a little bit surprised that Forest, first of all, the Forest players didn't make more of it, especially Sells. They seemed to accept that it was a goal, it was a bad goalkeeping error. I think if they'd made more of a song and dance about it, and this goes back to those dark arts again, where we've been a bit too nice maybe this season. I think maybe it would have got overturned. You sort of got to play that sort of over dramatic play to the cameras. Look at me, I'm on the floor. He just stood there looking perplexed, instead of maybe rolling around in the goal, and then we maybe would have got the free kick.
He probably felt VAR were going to have a look at it anyway. So what was the point?
They're influenced by that, Stephen. They're influenced by the histrionics and all that sort of thing. The overacting that's become for to the detriment of the game. I think that's become part of it. Unfortunately, that sort of people justify a lot of things like penalties being given where they exaggerate a touch and things like that, which. It's for the benefit of VAR. It's not necessarily the benefit of the referee on the pitch because he's not going to see it. But it's just showing that there has been a touch and it has to be referred to VAR, and then that penalty or free kick or whatever has to be given. I think we could have been a bit smarter there on that occasion.
I beg to differ. I still think the referees have got to do their job, and it just feels like week by week they make it up. Normally goalkeepers are a protected species, but today they weren't. So if we'd have had an opportunity, I would have liked to have seen us rugby tackle Bournemouth's goalkeeper from a corner and see what happened. But enough of that. We'll move on now and talk about the second goal. So this came 5 minutes before the break, and it starts in the middle of the park, and this is a goal more born out of our mistake, isn't it? Because we have a collision in the middle of the park. Correct me if I'm wrong, it's Elliot Anderson and Morgan Gibbs-White maybe, or Douglas Luiz. They get in each other's way. The ball breaks for Bournemouth. It comes to Eli Krupe, who is given so much room to carry it up the pitch and slam the ball past Matt Sells from distance. And 2-0, and at that point I was worried that we were going to have a repeat of last year's 5-0 scoreline at Bournemouth.
Yeah, I'm totally with you there, Stephen. The disappointing thing was that our sort of all players were standing off and just looking at it, and Milenkovic and Murillo sort of just backing off. I think Milenkovic wanted Murillo to be the one that went and challenged. I think that's the way they generally tend to work. Murillo goes in for the challenge, and Milenkovic is the one backing up. But he was so close to it, Milenkovic. It would have been a bit weird for Murillo to come in from that sort of distance. For that one, so I think there's a bit of a mistake there from Milenkovic. Just if he'd stood up a bit more and approached the striker, it could have maybe been avoided. But again, it's a terrible goal to concede, really, from our perspective. It's just not what we're about, really, from last season. And it's there's plenty of work for Sean Dyche and the boys to do on the training ground between now and next weekend.
So that made it 2-0 to Bournemouth, and thankfully Forest got through to half-time without conceding a further goal, because it did feel as if Bournemouth had got up ahead of steam at that point. So at the half-time break, it was Bournemouth 2, Forest 0.
The 1865 Match Report.
When it comes to what your family eats and drinks, you know your choices matter. You're the expert, because you know what fits your life. And getting it right starts with good information. That's why America's beverage companies are sharing more information about our ingredients at goodtoknowfacts.org. No spin, no judgments, just the facts straight from the experts for more than 140 beverage ingredients. Visit goodtoknowfacts.org.
You're listening to 1865, the Nottingham Forest podcast.
Welcome back to this 1865 match report. At the half-time break, Sean Dyche made 3 changes to his Forest team. So we had Taiwo Awoniyi, Amari Hutchinson and Ryan Yates coming on. And that was for Igor Jesus, Callum Hudson-Odoi and Douglas Luiz, who had been booked. We were saying in our group chat during the first half that we'd like to see Ryan Yates and Taiwo Awoniyi coming on. A few of us said that. So I think credit to Dyche there. He recognised that Forest needed to be more physical, needed to compete more, and bringing those two on was a smart move. And we also had Hutchinson coming on for Callum Hudson-Odoi, which actually, again, I think was a good idea. He's fresher out of all of our options because he didn't play on Thursday, and he looked lively as well when he came on. So immediately, Forest had a bit more about them from the start of the second half because of the changes that we made. Yeah,
I think Taiwo offered that bit more physical presence that we saw in the first half. Against, who did he play against last time? It was, I've got now. First half, Chelsea. Yeah. So yeah, that sort of physical presence and sort of competing with the ball and trying to hold it up and bring other people in to play. Hutchinson I think he's the only player who has anywhere near the sort of pace that we've lost with Elanga. I think, and that's so vital in modern football, just having that rapid pace to get up the field and a counter attack. So I think I know he's very young and he's very raw, but I think we're going to have to incorporate him into the team. And I'm finding Callum Hudson-Odoi frustrating. He's just it's not totally his fault because he plays on the left wing and he's right-footed, and it's just so frustrating. He's cutting in all the time, and you just want him to just whip it in sometimes. And you've seen Sean Dyche this game and the game against Porto making that hand gesture, whip it in, and they're just not doing it at the moment. It just makes it so difficult to score a goal because it allows the opposition to set up again and get into position. And the striker's got to make a second or third run by the time the balls come anywhere near him. And
the problem as well is you've got Nico Williams behind him, who, as good as he is, and he's arguably a better left back than he is a right back, but he's not somebody who can go on the outside and use his left foot. He'd always want to come inside also. So if the two of them are playing together, him and Callum Hudson-Odoi, you've got people always wanting to come inside and narrow the play rather than going out and whipping balls in from the byline. So that's a challenge for Sean Dyche to solve.
It is, yeah. I think, and I remember in the Sunderland game, Backwell was playing on the right wing, and he's left-footed, and he was just driving me nuts. He just kept on slowing the pace down and going inside again, and I just hope Sean Dyche just plays a left footer on the left-hand side once we're all fit, and a right footer on the right-hand side, and we can get some crosses in to our strikers and break forward and not constantly go backwards. I think he mentioned in his post-match interview that he hates those too many backward passes during that first half, and it's true. It was just so frustrating when, I thought we've just scored so few goals now. It's really worrying. We've not scored a Premier League goal for like 2 months or something, and it's that's relegation form. That's what you're going to go down. It's all about. It's not all about sort of keeping clean sheets. We're going to have to score some goals at some points as well. And I don't think we at the moment just that slow passing is going to help us. We need to sort of be more aggressive and get forward a bit more quickly. It's worrying. It's worrying at the moment.
Yeah, the last Premier League goal we scored was Nico Williams at Burnley. And the worry is we just don't look like certainly creating anything from open play. The 2 goals on Thursday night were penalties. And for one reason or another, we can't seem to get our attacking game going to a point where we can score and put away chances. I mean, we had loads of chances under Ange Postecoglou, but never looked like scoring. And I just hope that we're not having the same problem now where we don't look like scoring, but we don't look like we're creating as many chances.
Yeah. I mean, the first initial few games with Ange, we were creating chances. We're getting players into the box, bodies forward. But even towards the end of his 39-day tenure, that sort of dried up as well. We weren't getting as many touches in the box, and we weren't getting as many bodies forward. It seems to have carried on at the moment. So it's difficult. We've created a really, really difficult situation for us at Rod for our own back by having 3 coaches, so 3 sets of philosophies. And footballers, they're simple beings. They just want simple messages. And so try and take on all this new information all the time with very little training. Sean Dyche said they've taken in months' worth of information, a few days since he's been at Forest. It's going to. We don't have the time, but I fear it's going to take time. I just hope he can weave his magic and just get us doing the basics correct and just get it into the players. Just go forward, cross it, not too many backward passes, not play too slowly. Just get that aggression back into the play, hopefully we can turn it around because it's looking a bit bleak at the moment because we're going to need 2 wins to just get out of the relegation zone at the moment. And considering we've only won 1 game all season, that's looking like a tall task already.
I saw some criticism of how we used Taiwo in that second half. We seemed to just pump the ball onto him and wait for knockdowns, whereas the style under Nuno was even though there was a directness to it, it was a bit more measured. It was based on getting players up the field and carrying the ball rather than pumping it. Are you concerned that could be how we approach things under Sean Dyche, or was that more of a dealing with the game in the moment tactic?
I think there's more to do with Bournemouth because they were so dominant in midfield. I think it was just to avoid and bypass their midfield and just not have us being harassed and pressed out of it every single time. And I think Hutchinson and Morgan Gibbs-White sort of got involved more during that second half. I think I didn't get the feeling that we were overly direct and it wasn't working. I thought we were working reasonably well. Savona was going forward reasonably well. It's just that crisp passing is just not there at the moment. Or there were times when he was on the overlap and the ball, either Gibbs-White or Hutchinson just dallied on it, went inside again when the obvious ball was to just knock it down the line, let him get to the byline and whip it across. But I'm hopeful that Sean Dyche will keep. I think he's all about simple messages and just breaking the game down. And I hope that will work on this set of players.
Let's talk about the main chance that Forest had in the second half, and it came after some nice play between Morgan Gibbs-White and Amari Hutchinson. And the ball came to Gibbs-White on the edge of the area, hit a first-time drive towards the top corner. It was going in as well into the far post. It was really well-placed drive from Gibbs-White, but George Petrovic in the Bournemouth goal got across and made a good save. That was about as best as Forest could muster, wasn't it? And I suppose it comes back to the discussion we've had already that Forest were guilty today of wanting too many touches, wanting to come back and cut inside all the time. When they did play without too much thought, if you like, they created a chance like that. And Gibbs-White on another day, that one goes in and at 2-1, who knows?
Yeah, it's a decent enough save. Probably one you'd expect the goalkeeper to make, but it was a nice bit of play and offers a little bit of promise there for us. But yeah, it's apart from a couple of sort of tame shots from Taiwo when he sort of on the stretch, sort of doing it on his own. There was really nothing. There was nothing really for Petrovic to do during that match apart from that Morgan Gibbs-White save. As I mentioned earlier, we had a couple of corners in that second half when we were just building up a head of steam. And we completely just, firstly Hutchinson, and the second one I think was Anderson, I think from memory, and they just blasted them miles over. Yeah. And I just you just don't need that, and that's the sort of thing that Sean Dyche will work on and rectify. That he won't tolerate that going on for too much longer because you can't waste. I know it's all the vogue now, set pieces and long throws and all that sort of thing, and it's so important because the teams. I think I've not really heard this point being made, but I think a lot of the teams are evenly matched now. Every team more or less has spent big money on players. Everybody's squad's worth £100 million plus. So I think it's become a bit more like the Championship where anybody sort of can beat anybody else. It's not, apart from really Arsenal looking sort of that little bit level above everybody else. The teams are all fairly even. Everybody's got tough players, everybody's got big players, everybody's got fast players, everybody's got some skillful players. And that's where the fine margins of the set pieces come in. And that I know Sean Dyche will be working on, and hopefully we can start scoring again because we looked toothless at them all season. We had one direct free kick as well, didn't we? And you just know nothing's going to come of it. I can't remember the last time we scored direct from a free kick. And to think it used to be such a massive part of our game when you think back to the likes of Stuart Pearce, Colin Cooper, Lewis McGugan, sort of smashing in free kicks for fun. To get to a point now where you know nothing's going to come of it is a bit disappointing.
Just finally to wrap up the game, a couple of changes Forest made in the closing stages. Dan Ndoye went off. He was replaced by Nicolas Dominguez. And then Morgan Gibbs-White, as the game approached 90 minutes, he was replaced by Arnaud Kalimuendo, but neither of the substitutes did much in the final knockings of the game. It was pretty much won from Bournemouth's point of view, and 2-0 it finished. Let's now hear the opposition view on the game. We are joined by John from Cherry's Red Army.
It could go on a little while, but I don't think there's really much need to. The game was pretty short of events for the most part, despite the goals. The first half, Bournemouth came out of the blocks, all guns blazing, as we tend to do this season, and as happens in most games, the opposition can't deal with it. And Forest really struggled to get any kind of foothold in the first half at all. I feel if anything was going to happen pretty much the whole game, it was going to come through Anderson, but I think we did pretty well at sort of mostly preventing him from really setting any kind of tempo and finding the kind of passes that he's been that has gotten the recognition that he deserves over this season so far. But certainly in the first half in particular, I don't think any of the Forest players had a good game. I think the right back struggled with Semenyo initially. I think your attack, the front four just were practically non-existent for the first 40 odd minutes, which is no surprise that Dyche made a couple of changes. But I think in terms of the goals, I think that I can understand if there was a little bit of frustration amongst Forest fans at, firstly the corner, because the corner wasn't a corner, it was a goal kick. But those are the kinds of things that, just not every call is going to be perfect. And for that, it was a ricochet that wasn't spotted by the ref or assistant. And then for the goal itself, I mean, there wasn't a Forest player in between Adams and the goalie. And Adams was, maybe using his arms more than he should have done, but it wasn't exactly a lot of pressure that he was putting on the goalie. I mean, you look at the Forest corners, and Ndoye was trying to do the same thing to Petrovic. but the deliveries weren't as good. In fact, there are a couple of shocking deliveries from Forest for corners in this game. Hutchinson and Anderson both massively overhitting corners. And then for the second one, just a moment of brilliance from our young striker, who had a decent game, often dropped a bit deep. Defenders weren't willing to go with him. He linked up play a little bit, made sure the ball kept getting circulated. And yeah, just the first half was just an absolutely dominant performance. And in the second half, we never got out of second gear. Looking back at it, Bournemouth didn't really make that much. They created all their chances in the first half. The majority of those were from outside the box. Semenyo had a shot early on from inside the box, but apart from that, I don't think we had a shot inside the box. So goal from a corner and goal from outside the box. Similar case with Forest. Made a few chances, didn't really force Petrovic into a save you wouldn't expect him to make. And given that we were in such a strong position, I think the message was, don't worry too much about pushing forward too much in the second half. Just save your energy. If you can get a goal on the break, go for it, as we should have done when Christie overcomplicated things. But it was a new Bournemouth. We tried to control the second half and we succeeded and ran out comfortable victors, quite rightly so.
The 1865 Match Report.
Introducing Oakley Meta Vanguard, the new performance AI glasses designed for athletes. With hands-free capture on an action-ready ultra-wide camera, powerful open-ear speakers, and built-in Meta AI that syncs with your Garmin devices for real-time insights while you train. Take your performance to the next level with Oakley Meta Vanguard. Athletic intelligence is here. Learn more on meta.com.
You're listening to 1865, the Nottingham Forest podcast.
Thanks, John. So coming back to you, Maradona, let's have a few final thoughts on this defeat at Bournemouth and where Forest go next. We've got a week until we play Man United at home, so there's a bit of a break and a bit of time for Sean Dyche to work with the players on the training ground. Where do you think they go after this defeat at Bournemouth, and can we read too much into it?
Well, I think the defeat was always expected. It's just the manner of it was a bit disappointing today. You'd hope we'd put up more of a fight and do some of those typical Sean Dyche things which you'd expect from one of his teams. We were a bit too easy to play against, a bit too soft. So I'm hoping he'll have a good week on the training ground, instill a bit more steel into them, a bit more aggression, to get that intensity up again. Because we were doing it last season. The players there are capable of it. They showed us last year they can do that and compete with the best when it comes to work rate and tackling and tracking back and all those sort of things. So I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful the free week will give him a chance. And he seems to know is what's wrong with the situation. His post-match interview was very refreshing. And it left me in good heart that he knows what it's going to take to fix the situation.
It was always going to be a tough game as well, this one. Bournemouth have gone second with the win, and they've been in fine form all season, despite the turnover of players in the summer, losing their big names. And they're an example of a settled team with a good manager. And we're all disappointed by the result, but perhaps shouldn't be too surprised with it, given the upheaval we've had and the fact that Sean Dyche has only had a couple of games and a couple of days in charge. So looking ahead to Man United and how Forest might approach that one, do you expect major changes, or do you think Dyche will try and stick with a reasonably settled squad?
Yeah, I don't expect major change. I think defence is fairly settled now. He hasn't really got many other options there as it is. And I think Murillo and Milenkovic, his sort of players, fullbacks who've got no options anyway. So I think they'll stick to that. Midfield, you'd have to be a brave manager to drop the likes of Elliot Anderson. Maybe he'll try and incorporate Ryan Yates just to get a little bit of Dyche Dyche out on the field. His midfield general just doing sort of Ryan Yates sort of things, which we all love from him. And it's just the striking positions, maybe strikers and wingers, where he's got to find a combination where it works. Taiwo, he's put in 2 impressive 45-minute performances for me now. For somebody who has effectively had his career written off at Forest, he's done well. He's in terms of sort of holding up the ball, work rate, and making life difficult for defenders. He's done as well as any of our strikers has this season. So maybe he's earned a spot in the starting 11 next week, and then it's just wondering which of the wingers is fit and can provide the best ammunition for him.
And we will have our match report after the Manchester United game next weekend. Before then, we will also have Yates's Espresso Bar, so join us for that in midweek. That brings us to the end of this match report. My thanks goes to the Maradona of the Midlands for joining me, to John from Cherry's Red Army, and also to George for providing his thoughts. I've been Stephen Toplis. This has been the 1865 match report. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
You've been listening to 1865, the Nottingham Forest podcast. If you like what you hear, please subscribe and leave us a review. It helps other listeners find our content.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Whoever you're repping this season, carry the team like a pro with ultra-durable, officially licensed Yeti drinkware. Whether it's the NFL, NCAA, MLB, NHL, or MLS, Yeti has you covered with drinkware in all your favorite team colors. So, if you're a serious fan, now's the time to get serious about your gear with officially licensed Yeti drinkware built for the long haul. Find all the teams you root for at Yeti.com or a Yeti store near you.